Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one of my absolute favorite videos that I love making. It is a bake with me and it's a holiday / seasonal themed treat video, and I absolutely love making these videos. It seems like you guys like them too, and I'm just so happy to be back giving you all hopefully some inspiration. And so let's get into the first 4th of July treat. So this is basically a snack mix. If you've watched one of my treat videos before, you know I really do enjoy making these. I feel like these are so fun and easy to make, but you can also customize them kind of any way you want. So because they're like a trail mix, a snack mix, if you don't like something that goes into it, you can take it out. You can add more salty things if you're more of a salty person. So it's super easy, plus customizable, plus you can make it very, very festive. So I wanted to find 4th of July M&Ms, but I didn't have time and I only was able to get to one store and they didn't have it. So I am just doing the tedious task of picking out the blue and red, and then I did add some brown M&Ms in there just to get it up to a full cup of M&Ms. And now I am mixing them together, and I'm going to melt white chocolate chips, pour it on and mix it up, and I will spread it out and then add some festive sprinkles with it. So this one's super easy, and if you're crunched for time, I recommend this one. Plus, when you take it somewhere, a lot of people can enjoy your treat as well and just have like, you know, little bits of it, and you can snack on it throughout like the night if you're going to a 4th of July event or just a barbecue in general. I think it's a really great and not necessarily a basic treat, so it's something a little bit different that you can bring. So the recipe that I used said that you can line a baking sheet or a pan with parchment paper. I just put parchment paper on my counter and spread it out. A little tip when you're working with a snack mix like this and you're going to pour something on top of it like the white chocolate is you've got to move quickly when the chocolate's melted if you want to add toppings. So I knew I wanted to add sprinkles, so I quickly mixed the white chocolate into the snack mix and then sprinkled the sprinkles on top, because if you don't move quick enough, the chocolate will harden and then the sprinkles will not stick to it. So I left the snack mix, trail mix to harden, and now I'm coming back and just breaking it up into smaller pieces, and I'm going to keep it in an airtight container. Another thing I wanted to mention is the recipe called for 16 ounces of melted white chocolate, and I only used 12, and I think that's the perfect amount because it doesn't overpower the snack mix. It just adds a little extra something sweet to it. So moving on to the second recipe, I am making American flag cupcakes, and so these are actually super easy. I am just using a box cupcake mix and following along. I did make both vanilla and chocolate, so you'll see me here mixing up the chocolate cupcakes, and then I am going to ice them and put them in the shape of a flag. So you will see some of my ingredients on the counter behind the mixer. I like to get everything out so I just know what it is, but I also like to clean up as I go, especially when I'm making these videos. I'm using some of the same baking tools multiple times, and so it's just easier to clean as I go instead of, you know, getting to a step and then needing to clean an item. When you bake, what are you? Are you a person that likes to just bake everything, get it all baked, and then tackle the cleaning, or do you clean as you go? Let me know in the comments down below. Definitely let your cupcakes cool down before you ice them, or your icing will just get too warm and melt all over the place. Also, I have really benefited from getting the icing, I think they're called piping bags with the metal tip at the end. You'll see I'm using here. It works out so much better than trying to use a knife and just, you know, ice the top of the cupcake. It just makes it look a little more special. And I like to zap the icing in the microwave for 8 seconds and then mix it up. I feel like it just helps it go on so much easier. Anything more than 8 seconds though, and the icing is too warm and won't stick to your cupcake well. Also, look at this tip that I can't remember where I saw it from first or who I heard it from, but if you put your piping bag in a cup and then add the icing into the piping bag, oh my god, it works so much better. So I am so grateful to have heard this tip. I definitely didn't come up with it on my own. I heard it from someone, but I can't remember who now. So what are your plans for the 4th of July? My family normally just gets together and has a barbecue. I live very close to my parents, and so I tend to like to see them a lot. I'm definitely a homebody, definitely a family person, and so I love going to take my kids and see my mom and my dad and just hang out with my siblings too. So look at this. How adorable is this American flag arrangement? And it was so easy too. So moving on to the third recipe, I am making these handheld apple pies, and I honestly, this one's the trickiest one because you are making the crust. And let me tell you, when I started this recipe here, I don't know if I didn't read it thoroughly or wasn't paying attention, but when I got to the part where I had to make the the pie crust, I was like, oh geez, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna have to come on here and tell you guys that, you know, it was a flop for me because I couldn't do it. Oh my gosh, I was able to figure it out. And I have said from the beginning, if I can figure it out, you can absolutely figure it out. I do not pick difficult recipes. I even bought an apple pie filling for this recipe in case I didn't figure out this apple pie like mixture filling for the middle, doing it like homemade. No, it's so easy, and you guys can totally do it. One thing I did not have one of the spices, clove. See, I don't even know. I didn't add one of the spices to this apple pie filling, and it was still delicious. So don't be intimidated by the fact that you're making the filling and that you're making the crust. It was honestly so easy and so much fun. So this recipe actually called for, they were like hand pies, I think is what they called them. And they did a circle shape, and when I was going through my cookie cutters, I saw that I had a star, and last minute I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna do star apple pies. And so I actually think they turned out so cute. So keep on watching and see how they turn out. Also, there's no reason for why I used a red apple instead of a green apple. It was literally just what I had in my fridge. So I think using like a green Granny Smith apple would be delicious as well. So this is the really intimidating part for me, the crust. When I was cutting up all these little cubes of butter, I was like, what in the world am I doing? If you've watched the TV show Schitt's Creek, there's a scene, and I haven't watched it in forever, so I'm probably butchering it, but there's a scene where they're talking about folding in the cheese, and they don't know how to fold in the cheese. When I was reading the recipe about like adding the cold butter, and maybe they said cut in the cold butter. I can't even tell you. All I could picture was that scene, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm totally screwing this up. But it worked out. So don't be afraid to try something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone, because I did, and I was so happy I tried it, because this is definitely something that I will be remaking in the future. I'm questioning all my life choices while I'm trying to mix in this butter right now, but trust the process because it works out. So now that I have my pie crust actually looking like dough and looking like a pie crust, now comes the easy part. This just resembled sugar cookies for me. Roll it out, cut out your shapes, and then, rinse and repeat until you have all of your dough cut out. I wanted to mention too that in the description box I will be linking the recipes that I use, but I also will be linking my Pinterest page so you'll be able to find more inspiration. So now that I have all the pie crust pieces cut out, I am going through and I am adding the apple pie filling. I will say, because of the star shape, it was difficult to get the apple pie filling in like all of the star like little triangles, especially because when you add the top of the crust you have to pinch it together, and so it doesn't leave much room for filling in the edges of the star once you add the top of the crust and pinch it together. So for the top crust, I am just adding 3 little slits and lines in here for ventilation. Honestly, I don't really know what, I know I need to do it because I followed the recipe, but I'm not quite sure why. But it makes it look super cute by adding that little design, but you can kind of add cuts and ventilate any way you want to. You'll see here in a second that I'm going to press the edges of these handheld pies together, and on some of the pies I use a fork to add a little bit of a design. The recipe that I used when they did the circle hand pies, they used like a fork to make a little impression and like kind of like a design. So you'll see I'm attempting it here, and it looks so cute on the circle pies. I don't think that it looks bad on the star pies, but I definitely prefer just the clean edge instead of adding this little design with the fork. I think that the star shape is enough by itself and that you don't need to add that extra little edge, but I do make the pies both ways, and so you can be the judge for yourself and decide which one you like best. I do think it looks like more like starfishy and kind of beachy when you add the design on the edge, and the other star looks definitely more like 4th of July festive, but that's just me. You do have to also chill the pies for about 30 minutes before you put them into the oven. Just as an FYI, if you're going to make this and take it somewhere, you do need to build in that extra time. After the pies are chilled, I am just making this egg wash to wipe on top of all the pies before that they are baked. Also, I made sure to switch the rack that each pan was on about halfway through, just so the pies would cook evenly. I think these pies turned out so cute. I think you could add an icing drizzle over the top. I had them with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top of it, and it was delicious. You'll even see it is Josie approved. If you're new here, she's my 2-year-old. And I love the fact that they're handheld. So like if you're at a barbecue and you're hanging out, you can just, grab it and go, and you don't have to sit down with a plate and a fork. Super, super like barbecue summer friendly. So now, okay, so this one is one that I wanted to try and make. I was a little hesitant, as I normally am when I'm making something new, just because I want it to turn out good. So I don't have like they recommend putting it in like this special blender to crush up all of the pretzels. I don't have that. I should have put it in like a plastic bag and then use that meat mallet to crush it up. I would definitely recommend making your pretzel pieces smaller. Oh, FYI, that was the water after I washed my fruit. Just a little public service announcement. Wash your fruit, people. So I would definitely make your pretzel chunks smaller. I think it would make the base of this dessert better. It was still very delicious and tasty. There's just a few things that I would adjust, and crunching up the pretzels into smaller pieces is the first thing I would change here. So while the base and the crust of this dessert is in the oven, I'm going ahead and making the second layer, which consists of cream cheese and Cool Whip or whipped cream, whichever you prefer. And then that is the part that's going to go in the middle layer of this dessert. So if you're like me and you're terrible about writing down the amount of things that you need when you're going shopping, typically I just write down like what I need, and then I'm standing in the aisle like, well, I guess I'll get 2 bags of this because I'm not sure. I'm so glad I got the big container of Cool Whip because I actually needed the entire big container. So if you're like me, get the big container. I finished off mixing this layer by hand mixing it. The electric mixer did a great job, but because the Cool Whip was so like floofy and fluffy, that I just wanted to mix it myself to make sure everything actually got mixed from the bottom. When you are spreading this mixture, make sure you get it to all of the edges and the sides and the corners, because when you pour your Jell-O mixture on top, you don't want there to be cracks where it seeps through, because you want those distinctive layers. If it doesn't bug you and you just want it mixed up, then you don't have to worry too hard about that. But I wanted to make sure I had 3 distinctive layers. And I will also say that I could have just eaten the bottom and the middle layer and not even needed the middle part of the top part of the dessert. So if you wanted to like use those ingredients and make like some sort of dip with graham crackers or Teddy Grahams or anything, I think that would have been delicious as well. But here I am, I'm making the top layer of the dessert. You just need some red strawberry jello and then some cut up strawberries to make the final touch. I will say that I just like didn't really know how to do this last part. And so I waited until my kids went to bed because I didn't want to make the jello and then put it in the fridge and it get too hard. So you want to do it where this mixture starts to get solid and is not as liquidy, but isn't like completely jello. And so I was just not sure of how long that would take, but it does take a good amount of time for it to thicken up. So just so you know, that takes a little bit. One thing I would change about this recipe is I think what I would do is pour the jello mixture on top of this recipe without mixing the strawberries in. I think I would put the strawberries on top because I don't know, it was just something about the way that the textures and the taste mixed together that I didn't love. So that's what I would be doing next time. You can also make it look like an American flag. You'll see if you check out the recipe from my Pinterest page that the person who created this recipe, they just put these strawberries, I think, inside as well as on top, and then it made it look like an American flag, and they also used blueberries, and it just turned out so cute. So just to reiterate, I would just do the jello mixture and then save the strawberries for after it was solidified and jello, after it's been in the fridge for a bit. But I think this still looks like super yummy. It still tasted very good. Just a little bit of a tweak if you're gonna make it and you want to make those changes, you can. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and making it to this part of the video. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and think about subscribing. I post a new video every Sunday and I hope to see you back next week. Bye. Are you trying to get the dessert?